Geometry Dash is a game with a simple premise. You press one input, and the icon moves. The cube jumps, the ship flies, the ball reverses gravity, and so on. For the vast majority of levels, this core mechanic remains the same, whether you're playing a single game mode or switching between them in quick succession. There is a special game mode, however, and it's different from all the previous for one reason. It doesn't change the icon, instead adding a second icon, controlled with the same input as the first. This one game mode, introduced in Update 1.8 called the Duel, hides a secret when shown off in normal levels reserved for only the most creative and talented creators and players: the two-player mode. As the name suggests, two-player mode was originally added for players to play side by side on the same device, whether it be on PC or on mobile. For PC, space is player 1, and up arrow is player 2, and for mobile, the screen is split down the middle. The first super popular two-player level, released in early 2.1, was Duelo Maestro by Nacho21, the level name meaning Master Duel in Spanish. Fun fact, the level placed on the earliest demon list accessible on Pointer Crate, its highest position being number 37 on January 17, 2017. The level was definitely made to be beaten by two players side by side, as there are keys in the asymmetrical part of the duel which have to be collected by both icons simultaneously through differing gameplay parts, even having different game modes for each icon near the end. Now, most players would play the levels as normal, as designed, but this is Geometry Dash I'm talking about, and the community has no limit to what can be achieved. With players potentially coming from other games which require two different solo inputs, or players with the ability to learn two click patterns and perform them with both hands, one player would split their own focus to conquer a two-player beast entirely by themselves. Some might not know, but Duelo Maestro was beaten by Nacho21 himself to make sure it was possible. However, that wasn't the only hard two-player level in the game, because in 2020, Codependence by TC Team was published, originally verified by Capinapi and Viral DL on July 4th of that year. The level is very precise, but not too much so, as most of it is two insane demon difficulty parts stacked on top of each other, controlled by two inputs. Currently, the two-player verification of it is nearing the 1000th spot on the Irreddle, which ranks every single extreme demon by difficulty, with two separate rankings for solo and two-player completions. However, this level alone would be a two-player beast, and the player to conquer it was Puckles. On June 4th, 2023, they would be the first to complete this level solo, using each hand for one input. This feat was incredible, and still is, placing at number 66 on the demon list, and spawning many more feats like this to come. In fact, there are currently so many incredibly hard two-player levels verified solo that there is an entirely separate list ranking them, called the two-player list, which obviously has Codependence at the top, and the top 5 being in the top 150 hardest extremes in the entire game. Even with the crazy difficult limits surpassed by the game's two-player community, there is still an issue with verification that comes with the original use of the two-player game mode. This issue is an interesting one, since it occurred to Codependence. Even though it got verified by two players at once, it still got rated, since a level must only be verified legitimately to receive the demon tag, verifier count not mattering. This wouldn't normally matter, but for a list like Pointer Crate, it does. Whether a two-player level placed in the top 150 was tough to decide, as two-player completions were so much easier than solo ones. This eventually led to the removal of two-player demons and their placement into the legacy list on February 15th, 2024. This change was met by immense backlash, as players argued that verifiers and victors had put so much effort into valid levels just to be erased completely, and that unintentional gameplay is part of the game, meant to be different from normalcy and to push the game's limits in abnormal ways, which was quickly met by a reversal of the ban 3 days later. Past this now, players have taken over the scene with a horde of incredibly impressive two-player levels. Excluding Codependence, there are 4 two-player levels in the top 150 hardest. These 4 are Beeline by Galaxies and More, verified together by Move2 and Zeronium, and verified solo by Mortar 8, placed at number 92. Duelist by SyncTM and More, verified together by The World of Me and RQD, and verified solo by Drax Loves You, placed at number 103. Wobbling Machine by Smarted, verified together by Zeronium and Kutsu, and verified solo by Konski, placed at number 118. And finally, right below that, Crystal Crusher by Zeus GD and Xeniux, verified together by the creators, and verified solo by Gwit Gwit, placed at number 119. All of these levels are past a controversy and have all adequate forms of legitimacy verification. Extreme Demons aren't the only place where 2-player makes a difference, as the impossible levels list also shows how the game mode's limits can be pushed if needed. 12 out of the 13 top 1 and former top 1s use 2-player, the only exception being Formosa, only being possible on 20,000 FPS. 2-player pushes a level to another level, especially when creating a macro. I myself am an impossible level creator, having a 2-player level on the yall myself, and I can confidently say that for me, botting code dependence on 0.25 times speed was harder than botting tidal wave on the same speed, and going back to impossible levels, I can also state that the main part of my level, Rose's difficulty, comes from the wave/mini-wave 2-player part near the middle of the level, as even for botting, I had to use 2 fingers on one hand for both inputs, and the other hand for placing checkpoints in practice mode, and for advancing, going back, and toggling frame stepper. Self-glaze aside, 2-player buffs a level incredibly, which will hopefully appear more on the player side. From in-person, side-by-side co-op in 1.8 to crazy solo completions and ridiculous impossible levels, the 2-player game mode has changed from a forgotten gimmick into the hidden secret to the ceiling pusher of Geometry Dash. Thank you for watching, and if you made it this far, I wouldn't mind a like or a subscribe. I'm still a new creator, and I hope that the style of video works for my channel. If you have any suggestions for me, please comment them below.